Okay. Good evening, everybody. It's time for the weekly Calamity Jane 9 live stream because it's 9:30 on a Monday evening, and it is 6:30 on the East Coast and 6:30 on the West Coast. I am super out of it. I apologize in advance. I have been moving all day, which is why my background might look slightly different than you're used to. How's it going,
Yeah,
James?
good. Well, sounds like somebody's been busy.
Whew.
So,
Oh
and
man,
you have
yeah.
a new locale.
I had my last show for the play that I was in. That finished off yesterday, and now here I am, ready to go, ready and raring to go. I put together all the furniture that I needed to do this live stream because that's how excited I was to be here.
Well, I'm just glad you made it two in a row. So that means that we're pretty much getting into a back to our rhythm of where you'll be with us on a Monday
Yeah,
to
yeah. This
a
the
normal.
play is officially over.
Yeah.
So no more rehearsals taking up huge amounts of my time for right now. There might be more plays in the future at some point, but nothing permanent, nothing scheduled now. So
Cool. Well, I mean, we figured something out. I mean, like I said, I can fly the ship solo during any of those potential weeks where you end up with a play. So I mean, we kind of learned something new about our stream a little bit. Regardless, so that's kind of nice.
or are you saying you don't need me anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
I
pretty much.
see how it
Yeah.
goes. All right.
Actually, I do because it's kind of quiet when
But you
I
have
don't.
that great music playing though. Like, how could anybody be?
It's not the same.
Uh,
So yeah, it's much better having you here than not. So.
so, well, here I am. So what do you have in store for us today, James? What are we talking about tonight?
All right, I'll share screen. I'm just gonna pick up where we left off last week and kind of just ease into stuff.
Sounds good to me.
Considering you've been moving and stuff, I'm not gonna get into anything too new
Yeah,
around.
yeah. I mean, my it's actually kind of weird, like going to bed tomorrow or tonight, I guess, and waking up tomorrow and only having my regular work to do. I don't know how I feel about that. You know,
Meaning, you kind of miss having a hectic schedule with
it's
kind of balance.
it's really perverse. It's really self-destructive. But yeah, to a certain extent, like the insanity of doing this play, doing the rehearsal for 2 weeks, trying to find a place to live, scheduling the move, moving, also working. Um, I'll tell you what. One thing it does for you is you don't have time to dwell on anything.
That's true.
You know.
Um, I think there was some place, I can't remember where I saw this, but they said the top 10 stressors obviously are losing a loved one, like a parent
Yeah.
or, and stuff, but moving is like in the top five of stressors in life. So the
Yeah.
fact that and then you're doing it during Christmas times. So
Oh my
that's
God.
during pandemic. So it's all kinds of layers of stress that you just got through. So you should give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back for
I know. I know. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning and
relatively.
go, wait, I only have to do work.
Yeah, so it's kind of yeah. So kudos to you for getting through it, and emerging unscathed from
Yeah.
what I can.
Yeah. I know my dog will be much happier to have more access to me, given I've just been somewhat of a ghost for almost a month. Now
Mm-hmm.
timing works out really well because before she just would hang out with my parents because I was crashing at my parents' place, but now that I'm on my own, now I'll be around more, which is more definitely better for her in terms of having me around. Um, excuse me. Spit. Oh, I don't know what that was. Okay. Well, that was super professional, by the way.
Well, we're all about
We run
professional.
a tight ship on the weekly
Yeah,
Calamity
yeah,
Jane live stream.
exactly. Yeah.
But you're not wrong though. Moving is so stressful, and I've done it. Um, uh, um, I
Well,
did the count in the last 20 years. I've moved 10 times.
man,
Yeah, so
what the heck?
basically every other year for 20 years I've moved. Like, don't let the dust settle on where I am. I mean, some places like, I lived in one place for 3 years, another place for 3 years, but then the last 2 years I've moved 5 times.
So I know it's brand new. This is officially. This is your first day officially,
Or
right?
4 times, I guess. Yeah, this is my first day that I will be sleeping in my new apartment.
Okay,
Well,
so I mean,
I
you're
won't really
doing.
be sleeping because Penny will be anxious all night. But
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, you're already doing your normal thing. You're doing the live stream on a Monday night. You're
yep,
already kind of normal things. I know before we went live, you were talking about Penny needed to go do her business
yeah,
outside,
that's
and
right. She's already gotten her first walk of many.
yeah. So I mean, it's cool. You're kind of doing the normalcy stuff already, and
Yeah, hey, no time, no time to waste, man. I got to get back to
yeah,
normal as quickly as possible.
yeah. So how does it? So in general, it feels okay so far. So good, huh?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's super nice to be on my own again.
Mhm.
Um, I my parents were just stellar. They were so patient and letting me crash and get my career going, and I owe them an infinite amount of gratitude for them letting me, spend a year and a half kind of going, hey, I'm going to completely reinvent myself. This career that I spent 15 years developing, that's
Yeah.
gone. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do this other thing, and I have no idea how to do it yet.
Mhm.
Um, so them giving me that opportunity it was just huge. It was just unbelievably huge, and um, I just don't have enough kind things to say about their patience and their tolerance. So, but I am still very happy to be on my own again.
Did you get your now? The big question is, I didn't get a chance to ask you this before we went live, but did you get your game set up? All like your consoles are all set up, raring to go, fired up.
No, that's after this call. I'm gonna get those set up tonight. That'll be the last thing I do before I go to bed.
All right. So
And
you got a TV stand, all that stuff, all kind of ready.
everything is here. It's still in a box though. And once we're done with our live stream, then I'm going to set that up and then go to bed. And then that'll be it. That'll be it for the
Now
night.
you go to consoles, the Switch, right?
It's still the
Or
Switch. Yeah, and then I guess in a vastly distant second would be PS4, and
okay.
then I do technically have an Xbox One, but I mostly just use it as a Blu-ray player. So
Okay. Well, that's the beauty of the Switch is you can still play it mobile, so it
yeah,
doesn't.
absolutely. So I was with game throughout the move process.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, I mean that's well, when Meeth and I moved in to our new place, that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we haven't had to move as many times as you, but I got the consoles kind of up and running, but it wasn't, once you get them set up, then it's fine. Everything does feel pretty normal, at least for me.
It is interesting how the entertainment setup is really that once that's up and you can turn the TV on and you can pop
Yep,
on Netflix.
yep,
It's amazing what an effect of normalizing the space it
yeah,
has. Um, so yeah, I agree. Which is one of the reasons why I want to get it done tonight, and then maybe like watch an episode of DS9 before going to bed, and then
Oh, speaking of Netflix, I know again we talked about this before too, but for anybody, for the ones of people out there watching, I do recommend that you watch Alice in Borderland on
oh
Netflix.
right, yeah, that's on my list too now. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so that's a perfect welcome to the neighborhood show for you to enjoy as you settle into your place. I think I'm being very
Yeah.
biased.
It's the one thing that's weird is the TV is out in the living room again instead of in the bedroom, which I much prefer.
Uh-huh.
But so I'll have to get used to that.
Oh, because you before, yeah, you had it kind of in your room at your parents' place, right? So everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, definitely put that on your list. I want to hear your opinion on it. Maybe in the upcoming weeks, if you
Yeah,
binge it.
yeah. I'll definitely put on my list and it's like an hour long drama, right?
Yeah, about 45 minutes or so
Okay.
per episode. I think there's 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah, but definitely want to hear your opinion on it. See what you think.
Definitely, for sure.
Uh,
But in any case, so Sephiroth came out for Smash Brothers. Can you believe that?
here's the thing is I don't know who Sephiroth is, so I don't
Really?
understand why. I don't
Wow.
understand what the big hubbub was. I was like, okay, it looks like some RPG character that looks
Well,
really
he
powerful.
is the RPG villain. Like,
Really?
oh yeah, he's the main bad guy of, I guess, really the main bad guy of Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, and that's why I have no idea who he is. I've never played Final Fantasy VII.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
told to play it, but I've never played it.
It's interesting. I can't. I mean, I haven't played the remake.
Okay.
Um, and I've only played the original. And I've got it on the Switch. Final Fantasy VII is on the Switch,
Hmm.
but it's actually really hard to play. It's so rudimentary and so just old and early. It's interesting how a lot of early 3D games they become less playable than 2D games, right?
Hmm.
Um, like Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, although I don't really ever want to play Super Mario Brothers again, is still an eminently playable game, right?
Hmm.
But man, Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII is actually it's actually hard to play because there are so many designers have come so far in terms of design mechanics, and there's all these like quality of life things that you become accustomed to in modern games that just don't exist in Final Fantasy VII, and it's just like crazy how hard it is to play. Not because of the difficulty level in a lot of instances, but because of the just the rudimentary control system.
Hmm. Um, and I think now that they've remade it,
It's a
um,
different game, and also the and this is I don't know, I can't, I guess I have to reserve judgment, but it's not even the full game. They call it the Final Fantasy VII remake, but it's only the first disc of the original. So
yeah, I
it's all the
thought.
content up through Midgar, and then
Mhm.
when you leave Midgar, the remake ends. I'm like, but that's not Final Fantasy VII. That's like the first third of the game. Like it's not even halfway.
Yeah, I bought the remake for my nephews
Yeah.
and my brother-in-law for last year, and they started playing it, but I haven't heard much about it. Like I don't know how much resonance the game has had with them because now they're playing Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront a lot, and
Yeah.
Destiny seems to
It's
be the
yeah. I
order
don't
of the
really know
household.
what the.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I have no assessment on it. It's not really, you know, RPG fans have been clamoring for the remake since, time immemorial,
mhm.
and they got it. But what they got isn't really Final Fantasy VII. I mean, they've completely redesigned the battle system. It's not the entire experience. They got a really, really high fidelity video game that
Mhm.
has a similar storyline to Final Fantasy VII, set in
Mhm.
a similar looking world, and
Mhm.
that's it. Like I don't know. I don't know.
These are all
I'm not the
based on.
best judge. I don't. I find it to be. I find it to be lacking for me personally.
And this is all based on what you've seen video wise. You haven't played it though,
I
so.
haven't played it, no, but I've watched a fair amount. Like, do I want to play this?
Mhm.
And my answer after watching all of the reviews and let's plays and promotional stuff is no. This isn't this. This is like a different game that's made to look like Final Fantasy. It's almost like Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh man. Well,
I mean,
that's
that's what it felt like to me looking at all that stuff. And maybe if I actually played it and stopped being an armchair critic, then I'd go, "Oh, I see what they're doing here." But yeah, at least from my perspective, it definitely wasn't worth $60 for me.
so it makes me wonder what's the reception been like for the remake right now? I mean, do people like it or are
I mean, I'm
they
going to be honest with you. It's there's no point in trying to. It's positive,
okay.
but this isn't like it's not really a. I don't really think you can get a fair judgment. You know how video game fandom is. I mean, there's if there even by fan standard, video game fans are the most irrational group of people. Like the amount of love and hate that any particular product gets is not, in my opinion, is rarely justified or based in any sort of rational analysis of the product.
Hmm.
And I get that sense pretty strongly from the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, right now there's another game that just came out that had a whole bunch of hoopla behind it, which was is it Cyberpunk 2077?
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
And that one's getting ripped apart
Well,
for
with
console.
due cause, if you want to know my personal opinion, they released an unfinished game. Like it was what they released was an MVP. It was minimal viable product.
Okay.
It was a so different companies break it down different ways. My familiarity with the terminology is basically alpha is feature complete,
Hmm.
beta is content complete, and then you know then when it's an RTM, then that's when it's ready to be released. What it feels like to me that they released was a beta.
Hmm.
So when you get to beta in development, the game is done. All the features are in, all the content is in. Now it's time for post production, right? You go in, you polish all the assets. That's where you polish things, you fix bugs, you refine maps, etc., right?
Uh-huh.
And what it seemed to me is that they got to beta and then released a beta. That's what it feels like to me, based on all of the bug lists that I'm seeing and all the weirdness that I'm seeing on the internet. It's just like, yep, that feels like a beta to me. I've made enough video games to know what a beta feels like, and that feels like a beta to me.
I was watching a stream on YouTube of somebody playing it. I didn't see any bugs during the first hour or two of playing. I had it in the background, so I didn't. Like there was
Sure.
some minor things where an NPC character was walking and kept walking back and forth in the circle, and it looked very weird during a cutscene. But nothing that would be considered a showstopper or a game breaking type of bug that I saw. But that was, I think he was playing on PC too, so I don't know what's going on with the console side of things.
Well, the PS4, they've actually, as close as they've ever done to a recall, they did a recall on the PS4 version and refunded people who's purchased it money. Apparently, the PS4 version was just so fundamentally broken, and I believe CD Projekt actually issued an apology to PS4 owners.
Yeah, and then I mean, I was reading the fallout of people that went through the production crunch of trying to just get the game out and how
Yeah,
upset.
and then CD Projekt still had that very old world. Your bonuses are based on the game reviews. I'm like, God, that's why would you give critics that much power? I mean,
Yeah,
that's insanity.
yeah, it's not cool. So they've now become a new villain for.
Yeah, CD Projekt they squandered all of their goodwill and they squandered it so fast. Like, man alive, did they squander it fast?
Were they highly regarded before this game?
Because of Witcher 3, yeah. Like Witcher
Okay.
3 put them on the map in a big way.
What are they based out of? In Norway or something? Where?
Poland.
Poland. Okay.
Yeah, they're Polish.
Hmm. The game, though, from what I saw, the art was amazing.
I mean,
Beautiful.
there's a lot of good stuff, but the way they crunched and they released an unfinished product and the way they handled bonus distributions, I mean, it's just every boneheaded production executive producer move that the publisher made, they made. Like it's just ridiculous how badly managed that game was. And it's unfortunately it's not even surprising, right? Like the horror stories that I've heard about the development, I'm like, yeah, I've done that. I've been in that crunch. I've done that development. I've had bonuses
Hmm.
um, hinge on Metacritic reviews. I've had, you know, incomplete games ship, and then we immediately like go into double overtime crunch
Oh my
to
god.
get a day one patch in time to patch out the worst of the bugs, right? And it's it's just it's awful. I mean, there's a reason why I don't make video games anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare scenario. I feel bad for all the creatives involved.
Yeah.
In that scenario. Are they still? They're still. I mean, they didn't do like sometimes you see these game companies that they release their game, it kind of flops, and next thing you know, layoffs happen, and artists are out of work, or writers are out of work, all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure what's going to happen with these guys. Like, is it that bad? Is it that devastating for that company to
No,
where
no, no. They made back. They already made back the entire production and marketing budget, just
is
based
that
on
because of
first on
pre-order?
pre-sales.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're fine in terms of money. Like they're not like an indie studio that lives or dies based on this one thing. Um,
I saw like a news a headline where Best Buy was saying they were going to take back their games even if they were opened. In this particular case, which is a rare thing for a retailer to
yeah, that's
do.
really rare.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of dissatisfaction, um, and again, like, why shouldn't they be? I'm confident that what they released was a beta, and betas are not final products. That's why they're betas, um, and yeah, it's just I really don't know what happened. I mean, I can speculate because I've been in similar production
Mhm.
situations where the powers that be are like, we are tired of spending money on this. We
Yeah,
want this done. Ship it. And so then they end up shipping a beta. It's really as
but
simple as that.
but I mean, if this company's the one, if this company is the same as that's done the Witcher series and stuff like that, they've had enough experience points racked up to where you would think they would have kind of avoided something like this. You
But
know?
you have to keep in mind, and maybe because Poland is a small country and their pool of talent is much smaller, and so maybe it is the same people who worked on those previous games.
Mhm.
But in the United States, at least, um, um, I mean, with the way development works, is you ship the game and you fire everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so just because the same company is making another game, it doesn't mean that the same people are making it,
Hmm.
right? And so it's possible that CD Projekt um, is working with a different pool of people. But I think it's also likely that, given the size and scope of the game and everything that they wanted to do with it, they bit off more than they could chew, and they never could get a hold of it. They just could never get a handle of it.
Yeah,
So,
that's a bummer.
so what are you
I
doing
mean,
right now? It looks like you're linking her body parts so you can animate them together.
a little bit. Oh yeah, we're actually doing a stream about Calamity Jane. That's right. We're we're talking about such. Uh, while we were talking, I was setting up Calamity Jane to have body parts that I can use the software and tween
Mm-hmm.
between frames if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm just gonna do the keyframes. So you'll see here on the up area here, I have these layers here. I have the sketch layer right here, and then I have the parts for Calamity here.
Mm-hmm.
Go up. There we are. So let's see. Let me do it again. Yeah, so those are parts, and a couple of other parts around these. So in other words, these top two layers here have Calamity's quote unquote finished art here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have the sketch down here, which I'll just call sketch here from now on. We'll just stick that way. Um, Now, when I did the Blender file and I sketched it all out, I did everything in keyframes. So you'll notice if I turn off the finished art,
Mm-hmm.
we have this frame, and then on frame 5, I go to the next frame.
Right.
So all I'm doing now is I'm going to do the finished art and do the same thing, do the finished art with this frame, and then tweak the same assets that I just created here
Mm-hmm.
onto frame 5 and not have to do as much drawing.
I see. I see.
That's the idea. But at the same time, I actually do have it set up and for rigging later if I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
actually have the computer interpolate between frame 1 and frame 5
Mm-hmm.
these body parts to go from
Do
frame
you
1 to
think you're
frame.
gonna go that route?
I don't know yet. It's such a walk cycles are kind of finicky. I don't want it to look too robotic,
Mm-hmm.
so I might just do it by hand. But for now, I'm trying to just in my I'm trying to identify where I can get away with not having to draw,
Mm-hmm.
and then draw what I need to help it feel more organic.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, I'm gonna go into recycle mode or try to be efficient with what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and as I see fit, then I'll start tweaking stuff to that needs a necessarily not necessarily a new drawing or a new asset to help fill in the gap. So right now I'm moving this leg here to kind of match this drawing
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. Um, and I know I could tell I'm gonna probably need some new drawings a little bit here, like for this new leg here. Um, but if I rotate this leg a little bit, or the lower leg a little bit,
Belly. Sorry.
ah,
Hey.
she's already getting
No.
protected. That's good, right?
Well, no, that's not good. Penny, because we live in an apartment complex. Penny. No. This is a habit we're gonna have to break.
Oh,
When when we moved into my parents' house, their dogs just bark constantly,
yeah.
constantly at any
Mhm.
um, like any shadow that flits by the edge of their peripheral vision. It's
Oh yeah, they gotta do their job.
yeah, and we lived there for a year and a half, and Penny is
Oh
a
boy.
dog, and she picks up her cues from other dogs.
Uh-huh.
So that behavior became normal. No. So this is a thing that we will be working on to
Oh
break
boy.
her of that bad habit that she's developed. Stop it.
Oh boy.
Yes. And she'll
Um,
get there. She'll get there. But
was Penny pretty quiet when you before she joined the pack?
yes, she was.
Okay.
Now she wasn't like silent. She's a dachshund, and dachshunds like to bark to a certain extent. But yeah, people just walking by apartments that wouldn't trigger her. So this her being triggered by people just walking by is definitely a new phenomenon.
Hmm.
So you're jumping all the way to frame 5. Is there a reason? Is that just like a good keyframe pose?
I just kind of, when I made the initial original animation, I just went every fifth frame. I said, okay, I'm just gonna space this out to frame 5 and do a new key pose here. This is
I see. I see. Okay.
so
Okay.
this is the extreme pose. Then we're working towards the passing pose, which is right
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think things are a little bit off. I think I set it to 29 frames in the Blender file, but I don't know if it's really translating that. But it's okay. I can still adjust it.
Why 29 frames?
Sorry,
Why 29 frames?
29.97. I think is the
Oh, because
standard.
30 frame rate. Right.
Yeah,
30 frames.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
it might be one frame off or something. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. But it's okay. All I really cared about is getting the key pose in, and I can play with timing later.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's just a sketch, so I'm not too concerned about it. But
I,
here on frame 10 is the new
I
keyframe.
see. Okay.
I only did it mainly just because on every fifth frame I'll have a new keyframe. So
I see.
15, new keyframe here, and then once I flesh in the rest of this finished art,
Mm-hmm.
I may shrink the amount of time that passes between frame 1 and 5 to every 3 frames. I don't know yet. We'll get there.
Right.
And then
There's a bit of there's a bit of art exploration that goes into it
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So all I want to do is do the building blocks first, and then we'll tweak it.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So we could be on this. I could be kind of exploring this for the next couple of streams.
Well,
Like,
this is a fun thing. I mean, I think anybody who's be interested in animation. I mean, this is like these type of walk cycle. This is like foundational, fundamental animation stuff. This is the stuff that you really have to nail. But it's not sexy. It's not like splash
no.
page comic book stuff. But it's if these walk cycles aren't right, then Calamity isn't right. So I think it's probably something that's really worth exploring.
Yeah, and that's why I'm happy to be doing it on our stream, just so you and I can talk about it as I'm doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and get to a point where it feels right. I'm not going to rush. There's a lot of things I won't rush, and so we've been at this for a while, so rushing is not on the menu.
No, 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 no. We're neither one of us, I think, are in any hurry to. I mean,
Yeah.
this is something we do in our free time. We both have day jobs. I sometimes apparently am an actor, um,
And you're moving
and I'm
sometimes.
moving sometimes. That happens as well. And yelling at my dog not to bark. I'm a man of multifacets,
It's already shown
multiple
tonight.
facets.
You know?
So yeah, I mean, this is a passion project that we do when we have the opportunity. So, and we want to get it right, regardless of how long it takes. So, but I think that's actually like we're coming right up on 30 minutes here.
Okay.
So we might just call it for the evening. I think it's a pretty good stopping point. But I agree with you. I think we should keep spending some time working on these poses, and I think we should spend some time probably talking about why it matters, and and like how it will impact the overall feel of the show. And we talked about it a little bit with her walk cycle with tail versus without tail.
Hmm.
But I think seeing the finished product will really make a huge difference.
Yeah, and we can discuss it even further that way.
Really get into the nitty gritty of it. I think it'll be fun to talk about for anybody who's interested in animation, at least.
Yeah. So cool. But again, I'm congrats on moving
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
space and
thank
all that
you.
stuff. Great.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe it's done. I mean, my bed is right there. And I don't know. I might just crawl into it. I I keep saying I'm going to set up my TV tonight, and I'm like, am I really going to do that?
That's what tomorrow morning's for. You can do that then.
Yeah, yeah. Tomorrow morning is back to work. I only get paid if I work, so I
Uh,
it's
yeah.
back to work.
Well,
Um,
that's what your 15-minute or hour lunch are for.
that's right. That's right.
Uh,
All right. So thanks everybody, as always, for tuning in or watching this whenever you have the opportunity to. We'll be back next week at 9:30 East Coast time, 6:30 West Coast time, and I'm almost certain I'll be there because I don't have any other crazy things happening.
Yay.
For a change. Although I don't know how I'm going to handle it. I got so used to the stress, but whatever. Now I'm just digressing. In any case, thanks for tuning in. You can find us on all the things, Calamity Jane. Head to our Patreon site. It'll be in the description below. And or just go to calamityjane.rocks. It'll take you right to our Patreon site as well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for enjoying the show. And we'll talk to you next week. Night, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Bye.
Bye.